Hi, welcome back to the Marching Arts Network. I am Jen, and I'm here with another midweek roundup of all things drum corps. This was an exciting week full of shows coming out of Atlanta and going into Allentown. So we are going to look at scores. We're going to look at the closing gaps and rankings. We're going to look at some captions, some things that were noticed that maybe got missed in a couple of our podcasts. Would have been great discussion. I am going to talk about Boston's new ending, so that's exciting. I hope everybody got a chance to see it. But this was kind of a week in which we had some shows on and some shows off. Unfortunately, I believe that the Salem show was a summer music games of something of Southwest Virginia that got canceled due to weather last night. So unfortunately, Carolina and Blue Stars did not get a score. And that was a flow marching show. So unfortunately, we missed out on DCI Huntington in Huntington, West Virginia. I'm glad to see that show is still around. That was a show that used to be hosted by Phantom Regiment that was released to DCI. It is kind of a East Coast home show for us, but we were not there this year, so I'm glad to see it's still going. They're good people out in Huntington, West Virginia. So we are going to, it's kind of funny watching that gap just do this all over. It's getting really, really exciting. So I'm just going to jump into rankings. And again, this is rankings head on show to show. Obviously the big important ranking will be coming out of the 2-day event in Allentown, seeing where everybody falls in together. But let's talk about that top 5. And then we'll talk about, we'll talk about the top 6. And then we'll talk about what's going on 7 through 12. And the reason I say top 5 is because 6 and 7 are having their own little battle. And then 8 through 12 is insane. So it's really breaking down to 1 through 5. Bluecoats and Boston battling it out back and forth for first and second in that ranking. It is amazing. Then Santa Clara, all of a sudden, Santa Clara and Phantom were less than a point, like 0.3 of a point away from each other coming out of a show midweek. They've opened it back up because they've had a show. They had a show last night in Huntington. Blue Devils are not going quietly. They insist on attempting to medal this year. It is so exciting across the board. Like, every other day, we are talking like, ooh, someone's entered the chat. Ooh, look at that. Now we're playing here. Like, could it be that Phantom is sniffing for third? Could it be that Blue Devils don't want to let go of third either? And then all of a sudden, Santa Clara is like, no, we're still here. It's still ours. So Santa Clara is firmly sitting in a 94.4 after last night's show. That looks close to Boston. However, Boston hasn't had a scored show since the 28th. So I assume that Boston and Bluecoats are still going to duke it out to the very end. They are not, to my knowledge, going head to head in Allentown. I think they are on different nights. Let's check it out. They are on different nights. So Bluecoats are on Friday night and Boston is on Saturday night. They are looking at, so that's going back and forth. I can't wait to see how that comes out. Santa Clara is right behind them with that 94.4, like I said. Blue Devils at 93.9. They haven't had a show since Newark 2 days ago. They had a new ending put in. They're doing a lot of mishmash in the middle in that circle form. They opened up all of that drill, they sped up all that drill. So they've got kind of a little meat grinder thing going on in there. I'm not crazy about their ending set, only because it's a real condensed form. It's not a blob, so good job not ending in a blob. That's such a popular ending form. I'm so glad not to see a lot of it this year. I do not like scatter plot ending sets. Okay. little information about my taste. So they're now ending in this kind of condensed form, but that circle form of the props is so big, it makes them look really small. So I don't know. It's just my own personal opinion that I'm not a fan of that ending set. Phantom Regiment is not going to go quietly. They're at a 93.1. And even though it looks like they're further back, they haven't had a show since the 29th as well. They won't perform again until the 1st. So it'll be really interesting to see what Blue Devils and Phantom Regiment do going into Allentown, because I believe they do go head-to-head with us. Eastern Classic, yes. So it is Blue Coats, Blue Devils, and Phantom Regiment on Friday night. So that's really exciting for me. Carolina Crown and Mandarins are within a point of each other, so that's going to make it really interesting for the Mandarins. Their brass is really good this year, so I'd like to see them make a run for it and see if, oh my gosh, could you imagine? Oh my God. So, but let's talk about the Cavaliers. I have spent a lot of time this summer talking about the Cavaliers, and let's go back all the way to our hot takes for 2025. I was concerned about the Cavaliers. I was concerned about the names in the room. I was concerned that there would be too many opinions and too many creative differences, and I've been proved wrong across the board. They've done great. I'm really excited. But one thing I noticed, I saw a comment in DCP forums that their brass line had been struggling. And I've gotten a chance to see them like the very beginning of July, like the first or second show in Rockford. I got to see them end of July in St. Louis after San Antonio. And I'll get to see them finals week. But between Rockford, San Antonio to St. Louis, there was a markedly different sound to their horn line, like so improved. And I remember in St. Louis going, okay, I hear you, brass line, I hear you, because that wasn't the same horn line. The horn line in Rockford was more reminiscent of the 2024 horn line. It was not quite as loud, a little bit muddy. You know, obviously it was early season. They came out in St. Louis, and I was like, hey now, that's a horn line, you know? And one thing I saw was that someone had mentioned that their horn line, their brass Caption in San Antonio was in 15th place. 15th place. That's crazy. They are now, I guess they brought someone in mid-season to work specifically with the brass line, with the horn line, and now they are ranked in 8th place. So they are now in equilibrium with the rest of their Captions. Their percussion is in 10th place, but that's been going back and forth with the Troopers, so that's been fluctuating. The Guard is solidly in 7th place, so great job, Color Guard. So things are hitting on all cylinders now. There's not one thing that's weaker than the other. They are just kind of solidly that 7th, 8th, 9th place across the board. So that just suggests that all of their Captions are working well together and the kids are performing well what they are given. So kudos to them for anchoring, for shoring up what could have been an anchor and making the right decision to bring someone in and work with the horn line. Obviously, it is doing really well to go from 15th to 8th. And it wasn't like it was like just one night where they dropped. If you look at the graph, it was pretty consistently that's where they were. And then boom, off they go to the races. So great job, Cavaliers. Yet another compliment from me. Can you stop making me give you compliments? I can't handle it. You're supposed to be my competition, you know. Cavaliers with Shapeshift are quickly becoming one of my favorite shows of the season. So good job. Good job. Again, Troopers, I'm going to eat my words a little bit. I got criticized for bashing the voiceover at the end of the show. I don't know so much I got criticized as much as clarified. That is apparently Jim Jones talking. That was a talk that he gave back in the day. I stand corrected. Knowing who it is, it works. So I'm just going to eat my words there. Speaking of the troopers, by way of my friend Nikki over at the Drum Corps Tea, is this little tidbit drip. This is interesting. Because of the nature of her post, I don't know where it originated. I couldn't find it on Troopers Insta. I couldn't find it on their Facebook page. So good little drip there, Nikki. That date, 8/1, is the Allentown night one. They are scheduled to perform. So, okay, troopers, you have my attention. Let's see what you're going to do the week before the season ends. So, we are looking at a battle. Let's move on. Let's talk about that bottom six. We are looking at a battle from 8th through 12th. Right now, we are talking about 88.95 with the Cavaliers. That was their most recent score. Down to an 87.2. So we're talking about a 1.5 separating 8th through 12th. Blue Knights and Colts are kind of in a tie. They tied. Actually, they are directly in a tie because they were at the same New Jersey show last night and they tied. So that's like the most truest score ranking we have right now. So that's getting really, really interesting. I think the new ending has really worked for the troopers because they've gone from sitting in that 10-11 spot to now fighting for 8 and 9 with the Cavaliers. So, and the Blue Stars. So, now Blue Stars, they're sitting in 10th, but we haven't seen a show from them since the 27th. So I expect that to change. I expect them to bounce back up. With a new show this weekend. They will be performing, let's see. They perform again in Allentown on Friday. So another show tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing how that kind of course adjusts. So, they might have been one of the rainouts last night. Not sure. Let's see. The gap between 12 and 13 has just grown exponentially again. It's an 84.6 to an 87.2. And that's a true score because Madison also was in New Jersey. So I am not sure once again that I don't know. It's a pretty insurmountable. It closed up for a little bit. It was like a point. Spirit of Atlanta is at an 84.4 and they haven't performed since the 29th. And won't perform again until the 2nd. So they're a Saturday night corps. So they've had a lot of practice. So we'll see if they can close that gap. If they jump back over Madison, which I think they would. But we'll see how close they can get to Blue Knights and the Colts. So things are really, really shaping up. Music City jumped over Crossman and Academy. So good for them. They're making some moves. But yeah, it has been just a really, really exciting week of drum corps. A lot of shows, a lot of things going on, a lot of movement in the rankings. Boston premiered their new ending, I think, 2 nights ago. Flow marching, I need to see that again. I'm going to pay close attention to that in a second. I can't critique on that. It is the year of quiet endings between, down key, low key. That's the word I'm looking for. Low key endings. You've got Boston introducing a low key ending, Troopers introducing theirs, Phantom introducing theirs. So yeah, it is. It's kind of it's interesting to see these kind of softer endings coming out. But I do need to see Flow. I do need to see Boston's again because Flow, I don't think quite knew where to put their cameras. Having not seen the ending either. I know there's some stuff going on in that center field over the logo that I can't see. Last week I talked about, they obviously have the girl in the middle kind of frantically doing some motions. Maybe that's, like I said, the splitting of the atom. But I don't know if they've expanded that and what's happening in the end. I just can't see it on Flow. So I'm hoping they get a better camera view of what's happening there, see how it lends to the story. So, looking forward to seeing the rest of that. Okay, so looking at a few little rankings here. I am loving the guard caption. It goes back and forth. It is crazy right now because, like I said, we had rainouts. We had, some people haven't performed a lot. Some people have performed a lot. It's been a really busy week. So I do not expect this ranking to stay. Blue Devils in first in guard. Blue Coats, Santa Clara. Phantom Regiment tied with Santa Clara in third. Boston in fifth. That's not going to stick. Boston will have something to say about that. But again, Boston hasn't had a judge show since Mason, Ohio on the 28th, where they actually dropped a couple of tenths. So we'll see how they rebound this weekend on Saturday. So we have who else is of note? Madison Scouts are in 12th. Troopers Guard is sitting in 8th. Good job, Troopers Guard. I love it. So let's go on to brass. Save percussion for last. Brass is to be expected right now. Blue Coats on the top. Santa Clara, Blue Devils, Boston, Crown, Regiment. Again, as I've said many times, these dates are all over the place. I expect to see a lot of fluctuation going out of Allentown. Percussion, Santa Clara and Boston tied at the top. Those, again, going to change. Santa Clara had that scores from last night. Boston scores from the 28th. Blue Devils in third from the 29th. Yeah, and then fourth and fifth will be Blue Coats, Crown, and Regiment, all from either the 30th or the 29th. So I expect those scores to also change. I'm not going to go over the other stuff, GE Visual, whatever, Okay, so let's talk about Allentown. We have on Friday night, whoops, that's Williamsport. We have Blue Coats, Blue Devils, Phantom Regiment, Blue Stars, Colts, Blue Knights, Troopers, Pacific Crest, Music City, Seattle Cascades, Spartans. This will be a great head-to-head for the Blue Coats and the Blue Devils and Phantom Regiment to see where that kind of sorts itself out. Obviously, I expect that to go 1, 2, 3. But I'd love to see that go. I'd love to see that go Blue Coats, Phantom, Blue Devils. But, we'll see what the drum corps gods have to say. It'll be a great showdown between the Colts and Blue Knights. And again, it'll be a great showdown between Troopers and Blue Stars. This will be interesting because the Troopers are going on at 8:18 and the Blue Stars don't go on for an hour later. So in between the Troopers, you have the Blue Knights and the Colts. And then Blue Stars. So it'll be interesting to see how that works its way out on the score sheets, considering that Troopers have made some strides and have been more competing with Blue Stars and less competing with Colts. So we'll see how that goes out. On the 2nd in Allentown, we have Boston Crusaders, Carolina Crown, Santa Clara Vanguard, Cavaliers, Mandarins, Madison, Spirit, the Academy, Crossman, Genesis. Another great show. Boston is going to be, this would be a good showdown between Boston and Santa Clara. Crown is stuck in between those two on the schedule. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that sorts out. This is a good head-to-head for Cavaliers and Mandarins. Mandarins, of course, are trying to chase down Crown. So this is great. Madison and Spirit are going to go head-to-head. Academy and Crossman are going to go head-to-head. So also really exciting. But lest we throw a wrench in the mix and we can't even get a chance to breathe and look at these scores as a combined sheet, as a combined ranking coming out of Allentown, we have DCI Williamsport on the same night as night 2 in Allentown. And in that show is Phantom, Blue Stars, Troopers, Music City. It is a majority all-age show with a few world-class drum corps thrown in. So and it's going to be on Flow Marching. So please, 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 I know y'all are going to be watching Allentown, but maybe on August 3rd, go back and watch the replay of DCI Williamsport because there are some great all-age drum corps, and they need your support. So go in, check it out. Maybe on August 2nd during an intermission, go in and check out some of the Williamsport shows. It'll give you some flip-flopping back and forth to do. I really want to check out the Hawthorne Caballeros. I think that'll be really exciting. Rogues Hollow Regiment. I think they're doing Toxic. I think I remember that. They're the other ones doing Toxic or something. Maybe they were doing 9 Inch Nails, if I can remember correctly. So there's a lot of good stuff. Sacramento Freelancers Mini Core is going to be performing earlier in the beginning. If you haven't paid attention to Mini Core, it's kind of a fun thing. It is basically park and bark type stuff, but it's fun to see what they're doing, and it's good to see friends of mine in that little Mini Core. So I have some allegiance there too. So that's it. We got Allentown 2 nights. We got, I think, do we have anything tonight? I'm not even sure if we have a show tonight. I don't even know what the date is. Yes, we do have, we do have the DCI East Coast Showcase. That's in Lawrence. That's Bluecoats and Boston going head to head. So we will have a score for the 2 of them. We have DCI Central Ohio, which is an open class show. So we've got Gold, Battalion, Columbians, River City Rhythm, Colt Cadets, Northern Lights, Listenters, and 7th Regiment. Neither of those are on Flow, so unfortunately all you can do is track scores and wish you were there, right? So that's it. It is a big, big weekend. Allentown. I'm so excited. I'm so glad I do not have to walk up that hill. Enjoy the hill, everyone. All right. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Are you going to be at Allentown? I do have several friends that make the journey to go there. I think one of our viewers is going to Allentown and then going into finals. So enjoy. That's a lot of great drum corps. And exciting. I am going to be at the movies on Thursday. Justin is too, of finals week. And then my hope is to be there for semis and finals. I'm definitely there on finals. I'm hoping to be there at semis also. So enjoy the week of drum corps. The season's coming to the end. It just went by way too fast. Short drum corps is bad drum corps. We need more shows. So take care, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you after Allentown. Bye.